Really got to try on that left-hand side. What happened?
Oh, but I've gone up and over and bloody head over biscuit. It wasn't enough stability there for myself, but no, I was busting for a bit of meat this game. It didn't seem to work out.
Hello, cheers, and welcome to the Scrum of the Earth, the podcast for news, reviews, great interviews, and so much more, all about the world of rugby. My name is David Lawrence. I'm an American rugby fan who follows the game wherever I can find it all over the globe. We're part of the Sports Social Network, and you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the usual places. If you like what we're doing, please like and subscribe, and if you could tell a friend, it would really help to grow the pod. Well, starting as always with our current updates, the obvious update is the format change for the show. This is your Super Rugby Pacific episode. Looking back at round 14 and taking a look at where we are in the lead up to the playoffs. Super Rugby, I'll tell you, was the first competition I ever watched, and it's still my favorite, if only for sentimental reasons, perhaps. So the weekend got us started with the Hurricanes versus the Highlanders. The key stat that they highlighted at the opening was the Highlanders had lost 14 in a row away against New Zealand teams. My guys, they started strong, however, getting 2 tries from Jonah Lowe in the first quarter. By the way, if you live in New Zealand and your name is Jonah Lowe, you should probably get pretty good at rugby. Jacob Tavuki-Nipkins, he was having a great game, but a yellow card for Timothy Tavatavanawai looked like it might steal some precious momentum. Things got really exciting late, I have to say. This is probably the best the Highlanders have played all season, and they held a 3-point lead with just about 5 minutes to go. Keep in mind, last time my guys beat the Hurricanes in Wellington was the 2015 Super Rugby final. So I'll tell you, this is what it's like to be a Highlanders supporter. Ready? You can literally look at the screen, see that your team is ahead by 3 with the clock gone red, and still know for certain that you're about to lose. That's exactly what happened here. The Canes getting a go-ahead try after the 80-minute mark. Presto, we lose again, 24-20 in Wellington. Wow. So next up, of course, it was Waratahs. They were hosting the Crusaders. The Crusaders sent a bit of an off-the-boil squad, but of course, off-the-boil for them is still world-class for most teams. And in Sydney, it didn't seem to matter much as they shot out to a 0-12 lead before even a quarter hour had gone by. There was a great little side moment, by the way, with the ref. A player was arguing with him about a call, and Paul Williams said it was a tackle and it was dynamic. And the player interrupted him to ask, "You reckon?" And Paul Williams just said, "Yes, I do. I do reckon." I don't know why I love stuff like that. Anyway, Waratahs, they hung tough, but they were never going to match up. The Crusaders really took their foot off the pedal as the game wore on, but they were far too ahead for it to matter, too far ahead. Your final score from New South Wales was 33-48, and everyone watch out. The Crusaders are looking to win this thing. So next up, it was the kind of disappointing Drua. They were home in Lautoka to take on the Western Force. Pretty sure that's the biggest travel commute in this competition. The Force sent definitely a reduced squad, but given the Drua's inconsistency, even at home, figured it could go either way. Of course, the visitors had lost 11 straight games outside of Australia, a stat dating back to last season. So, yeah. Anyway, the home team, they took their sweet time getting into a groove, but eventually found it and led 17-7 as they headed to the shade of the locker rooms. The men from Perth completely wilted in the second half, failing to score another point, and made something like 72 minutes of scoreless rugby in a row for them. They lost big, 38-7. Nice way to close out the year in Fiji, and the win extends the Fijian Drua's unbeaten run at Churchill Park to 9 consecutive matches. For the Western Force, though, this one's a tough pill to swallow. Their finals hopes are hanging by a thread. They were missing a lot of players, to be fair. The guys they were missing, White, Stewart, Potter, Tizano, even Donaldson getting, starting on the bench. That's a serious chunk of experience out of the lineup. They just couldn't seem to hold on to the ball. They gave away too many penalties. And the Drua were just clinical in punishing those mistakes. So after that, hopping over to Canberra, it was a rematch between the Brumbies and the Reds. As we've talked about, the Reds have been good this year against most Aussie sides, but out of the last 8 matches with Australian opponents, the Brumbies were the only team they had lost to. So they came out ready to fight. However, particularly Tate McDermott, have you noticed how hard that guy works to put himself in dangerous positions? He is relentless. Anyway, Nick Berry, he was our lead official. And don't worry, I'm not here to criticize his refereeing. I just want to point out that he could use some vocal training. Like, he's absolutely screaming for 2 straight hours. Like, it kind of sounds like corrugated tin being shredded apart. Like, his voice and throat must be in tatters the rest of the weekend. Anyway, the game itself was as close as you could want in the first half, with the teams tied at 7 at halftime. With a quarter hour to go, it was 21-14. But despite a frantic ending, the Reds couldn't dig out a losing bonus points and got season swept by the Brumbies 24-14 by full time. After that, Moana Pacifica, they were back at North Harbour Stadium, just 22 kilometers from Eden Park, the home turf of the Blues, their opponents. And the comms told us a bit about how important that proximity is. Like, you've got mixed fan bases, you have really easy travel between the two venues. You've even got family connections with the hosts were fielding both Savia brothers. Well, of course, Patrick Tuipulotu was the Blues captain, and his younger brother Tito was starting for Moana Pacifica. Apart from the deep connections between the teams and the players themselves, there was a ton riding on this match for other teams as well. A Blues victory would mean my Highlanders and the Western Forest would both be eliminated from the possibility of seeing the playoffs, probably for the best. As we approach the half-hour mark, the hosts led by a tenuous 3 points, with the Blues still sitting on a goose egg. But a penalty try with the aforementioned Tito Tuipulotu getting sent to the bin flipped the script. It was, as the comm said, a nail-biter. The scoreboard reading 11-14 as they went to the sheds. Kyren Tomoefalau's razzle-dazzle try in the corner caused the stadium to erupt after a try had just been controversially reversed. And it gave the home team a 2-score lead just before the final quarter of play. You can't have watched this game and not mention Artie Savia, a superhuman performance when they needed him most. He was doing things people just aren't supposed to be capable of doing. Like, I honestly got chills watching him. His latest Herculean effort again set up Tamoafalau, who nabbed a hat trick to ice the contest. Pandemonium in the stands. Quote, "I cannot remember a better individual performance I've ever seen in a game of Super Rugby than what we've seen today," unquote, said the comms, and it felt impossible to disagree. He was even back to cover the fullback spot when Havili took a knock, and it was the sheer force of will that his body was even moving at that stage. There were 6 points between these teams with 6 minutes to go, and keep in mind, Moana Pacifica had never beaten the Blues in their relatively short history. As the clock went red, I'll give you one guess who secured the match-winning turnover. Yeah, you guessed it, Artie Savia, a man whose presence on this team has made perhaps the greatest difference from year to year than any player I can think of. Finn Russell to Bath, similar, but the inspiration Artie brings, it's infectious, it's undeniable, and without him, there was no way they were getting this historic win. Final tally at North Harbour Stadium, 27-21 in an instant classic, just incredible. In case you haven't heard, by the way they do their Player of the Year voting in Super Rugby is based on like accumulated points. So with 2 full rounds left, Artie Savia has already wrapped up the award for this season, a staggering feat. So, looking ahead a little bit, we've got, as I said, 2 rounds to play before we get to what they like to call finals footy. There's still a lot up in the air. For example, while the Blues secured a losing bonus point this weekend, the loss sees them drop out of the top 6, making their final regular season match against the Waratahs crucial for their playoff aspirations. So with only 2 rounds remaining in the regular season, the Super Rugby Pacific playoffs picture is becoming clear. Currently, we've got the Chiefs on top with 41 points, the Brumbies with 39 points, the Crusaders with 37 points. Actually, I have to double check that. I think I saw the Brumbies are on top now, but the top 4 is right. It's the Crusaders, and then it's the Reds. Oh, we've got the Blues, we've got Hurricanes. Now I'm starting to doubt all of these. So the Chiefs, the Brumbies, the Crusaders, they're in strong positions at the top of the ladder. They've likely secured a home field advantage for the early playoff rounds. Queensland's Reds, they're well positioned to make the finals. I'm sorry, I'm going to actually look this up as I'm talking right now. I know this doesn't make for good podcasting. On the other hand, I don't want to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, the Brumbies, they're in second." Oh, whoops, there. The website is loading. Their website is notoriously slow. It might be, I don't know, the metric conversion that you have to do from here to New Zealand. Is that a thing? Yes, I apologize. The top 4 are the Brumbies, the Chiefs, the Crusaders, and the Reds, followed by the Hurricanes and Moana Pacifica. And yes, the Blues are now in 7th place, out of contention for now, and they only have the 1 game left to go. By the way, the Highlanders and Fijian Drua, they, I think, technically have a road ahead that could still see them in the playoffs. Given their current points totals with only 2 rounds left, my Highlanders would basically need 2 bonus point wins and for every other team to somehow lose. Even then, I think it'd be like a 2% chance, but I Haven't done the exact math. Anyway, it's been an exceptional season, though a few teams might like a do-over, especially on the road. Looking in your direction, Drua. And as a Highlander supporter, there have been some devastating defeats. The stories of this year have to be the rebirth of the dreaded Crusaders and the inspirational rise of Moana Pacifica. Are the Blues capable of getting back to a final? Are the Chiefs for real? Which Hurricanes team will we see over the final couple of rounds? Can the Reds get back to early season form? Is this, at last, the year of the Brumbies? I am excited for the next 2 weekends when all of those questions will be answered. Diamond in the Ruck Award, and no surprises at all. This week, the award goes to Artie Savia. Mr. Savia, you're the only player to have won this award more than once, and I think this might be the 4th time, but there was simply no other player anywhere in the world this weekend that put in a shift like you did every key moment. It was you coming up big again and again and again, even getting the turnover that slammed the door shut on the Blues for the first time in your team's history. Just an otherworldly performance. Artie Savia, congratulations to you, for you are this week's Diamond in the Ruck. Well done, sir. Okay. My friends, that brings us to our updates and previews. It's an odd thing. The 11-team format of this competition makes for a lot of sort of odd bye weeks. So this coming weekend, we've only got 4 fixtures. In the wee small hours of Friday morning where I am, the Crusaders will host the Highlanders before the Reds welcome the Hurricanes to Brisbane. To Brisbane? Yeah? I think that's where it said this match is. On Saturday, the Chiefs take on Moana Pacifica, and finally the Force are back in Perth for the Waratahs. The Tars will be desperate for a bonus point win there. The Force are the bye team for the final round, so this might be bye-bye for their season. Well, my friends, that does it for the Super Rugby episode this week. If you like the new format, with each episode covering a single or a small group of competitions, reach out and let us know. If you don't like it, well, I'd honestly like to hear about that as well. It's always a work in progress, and I always value your feedback. So, to all of you across the globe, cheers, talk to you soon, and be well.
It gives me great pleasure to be here today.
Oh, it does, neat.
You want to tempt the wrath of the whatever from high atop the thing?
I wish I could get up at 11:30 every morning after being out all night God knows where.